Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out. Today we have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So do me a favor before we dive into these topics. If you end up enjoying this video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. The first topic we're discussing is another update on the upcoming Splinter Cell PlayStation 5 remake and how apparently the developers are looking to achieve the ability for players to have a complete non-lethal playthrough. So reading here from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says Ubisoft has revealed that Splinter Cell Remake will allow players to complete a pacifist run without ending anyone, unlike the original. The 2002 game required players to use lethal force several times, even if they opted for a full stealth run. However, this time around, we won't have to hide any bodies. According to Ubisoft, players will now have more tools to de-escalate situations. Creative director Chris Audi said in a recent video interview that it's important to give players a sense of mastery when playing the game, and one way to get that feeling of perfection is to allow a complete pacifist run. Stealth is an extremely important pillar for us, and we aim to incorporate modern design philosophies, improving the minute-to-minute stealth gameplay that was so special in the original. Sam, being the ultimate covert field agent, has an enormous array of tools and abilities, gadgets, and movements at his disposal. Sam will have the ability to react to situations in a split second. This includes abilities like high jumps to avoid contact after alerting an enemy or finding himself surrounded after a tense situation. So I just wanted to give you guys this small update on Splinter Cell Remake because, you know, I will say as a big fan of the Metal Gear Solid series, one of the cooler aspects of those games is that you can complete non-lethal runs, and it's something that a lot of players would actually try to achieve, and it's actually rare in video games to have that option, and so stealth games make the most sense, and I think that this is a cool thing they're doing, a way they're kind of, you know, making a subtle and small but certainly impactful change to the remake compared to the original. So let me know your thoughts on that down below. Moving on from that though, we have a rumor regarding Star Wars Jedi Survivor and how apparently a release date is set for the Game Awards 2022. Reading from PlayStation Universe, it says the Game Awards 2022 will play host to a ton of new Star Wars Jedi Survivor details, including a release date and a new trailer. That's at least according to sources at Insider Gaming, which claim that the Star Wars Jedi Survivor info drop will take place about 30 minutes into the packed showcase. To be fair, a release date during the Game Awards would make sense, as it's rumored the game will release in March of 2023, so it's not too far off. For those who haven't been keeping up with the game, Star Wars Jedi Survivor takes place 5 years after the events of its predecessor, Fallen Order, with protagonist Cal continuing to feel the burden of being one of the last Jedi left in the galaxy after Order 66. And it's also worth mentioning that Jedi Survivor is a PS5 and Xbox Series only game. It's not a PS4 or Xbox One game. And, you know, this is exciting to me and also makes a lot of sense. We haven't heard much from Star Wars Jedi Survivor in some time, but it's one of my most anticipated games. I thought that Respawn did an amazing job with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and it was honestly way better than I expected it to be, and one of the better Star Wars games I've ever played, maybe even the best. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this, and I hope it's true. I feel like the Game Awards is the perfect spot for a game like this to show up, so we'll have to see if this rumor about it launching in March of next year turns out to be true or not. Next up, we have an interesting one here. Electric cars from Sony Honda Mobility may feature PS5 consoles. Coming from Push Square, it says, unless you've been keeping up with the world of electric cars, you may not know that Sony and Honda have joined forces to develop cutting-edge cars. The new company, which is focusing on innovative new tech, is aiming to have its first vehicle on the road by 2025, and by the sound of it, you may be able to take your gaming with you. Speaking to Financial Times, President Izumi Kawanishi said that the joint venture's intent is to build a car around content, meaning music, movies, and PS5. The idea is to utilize Sony's massive presence in entertainment, adapting these assets to mobility, in a move to trump Tesla. Apparently, incorporating Sony's latest gaming console into a vehicle is technologically possible. Obviously, for users to really gain the benefit of a PS5 on the road, more development in the world of self-driving cars is required first. To enjoy the space in your car, you have to make it a space where you don't need to drive. The solution for this is autonomous driving, says Kawanishi, adding it will take time to get right. Obviously, this is all quite far away and sounds kind of crazy, but if we're heading away from manual driving, the better way to pass time, or what better way to pass time, it says, than to catch up on some games. And I gotta admit, this makes me laugh a little bit. You know, it's hard to imagine reaching a point where you get into your car, you set your destination, and then you just pick up a DualSense and you're maybe playing some God of War or something, or, you know, by that time, who knows what we'll be playing. But it's just a really funny thing to imagine. But this is something that both Sony and Honda are working on together, and so it will certainly be interesting when they show off their first car with a PS5 built into it. I mean, even though it sounds kind of silly, I do think that for anybody who's a passenger, right, like, that's pretty cool. If you're going on like a long trip or something, you know, having a PS5 just built in right there, that is pretty cool. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated whenever we hear more about this, but certainly an interesting news story to come across. But moving on from that, we have yet another update on the very tired Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal, but this is one that's pretty significant. Reading from GameSpot, it says, as the pending sale of Activision Blizzard to Microsoft continues to be analyzed by regulatory committees around the world, a new report by the New York Times has revealed an attempt by Microsoft to remedy one of rival Sony's largest issues with the acquisition, Call of Duty. The report states that on November 11th, Microsoft offered Sony a deal that would see new releases in the first-person shooter franchise continue to launch on PlayStation for the next decade, or 10 years. Sony, according to the report, did not comment on the offer when asked. The report comes after Microsoft accused Sony of overstating the franchise's impact on PlayStation's overall viability, which played a factor in the United Kingdom's Regulatory Commission's decision to send the deal to a second stage of scrutiny. The referral decision incorrectly relies on self-serving statements by Sony, which significantly exaggerate the importance of Call of Duty to it, Microsoft said after the UK decision. While Sony may not welcome increased competition, it has the ability to adapt and compete. The New York Times piece includes remarks from Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan about those assertions, saying they were, quote, not true, end quote, and that, quote, it is highly likely that the choices gamers have today will disappear if this deal goes ahead, end quote. So yeah, this is an interesting follow-up to what we talked about. We just heard Phil Spencer recently go on record saying that he would like to offer Sony a better deal. The last deal that we heard was a 3-year deal, which Jim Ryan condemned and said it was completely inadequate. And I think one of the biggest things to look at here is Microsoft wanting to make a deal for Sony, I think, is an indication that at some point they are planning to pull Call of Duty off of it. I mean, I still have a hard time believing that just because of how big Call of Duty is on PlayStation, but you can't help but kind of think that. I mean, kind of looking around and reading what other people are saying about this and how they're responding, most people are immediately coming to the conclusion, well, so after 10 years, you're going to take it off? And it's like, well, I mean, that's kind of the implication to an extent, right? But, you know, a 10-year deal, I don't know. I have to really wonder if Sony's going to try to make a play for this, because that's a long time, you know, and we have no clue where Call of Duty is going to be in the next 10 years. I mean, we have no idea where the gaming industry is going to be in the next 10 years. And we still don't truly know if Microsoft, after that 10-year deal is up, would actually want to take Call of Duty off PlayStation. Who knows? Maybe Call of Duty's relevance would have dropped so significantly that it would be completely detrimental, right, to take it off of PlayStation at that point. So, yeah, I mean, personally, I kind of hope Sony takes this deal. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe at this point, Sony can push Microsoft a little bit further and say, you know what, let's do 15 years. Give us 15 years, we'll sign that deal. Maybe Microsoft would do that. I mean, my whole thing with this is if Microsoft really does have no intent of taking Call of Duty off PlayStation like they claim and to treat it like Minecraft, then technically Sony could turn to them and say, we want a 30-year deal, and Microsoft would be fine with that, right? I mean, that's where I kind of understand why Sony might be a little hesitant to sign this deal for 10 years. But this is the latest we're hearing. And, you know, Jim Ryan, he's still out here being like, no, this is bad, man. This is bad for gamers. So I don't know. You guys make of that what you will, but I figured I would update you on that. I will continue to update you if we hear any more. But we are moving on to the final topic, which is a rumor regarding Final Fantasy XVI's release date and how it will apparently be revealed at the Game Awards. Coming from Push Square, it says a release date for Final Fantasy XVI could be announced at the Game Awards, according to a new report from Insider Gaming. Jeff Keighley's annual event takes place on December 8th, and it is set to play host to a range of announcements. The aforementioned report says that the pre-orders for the action RPG will go live around the same time, which strongly suggests that we'll get a date alongside a fresh trailer. Officially, Final Fantasy XVI is on track for a summer 2023 release window. Getting a confirmed date in December would give Square Enix at least 5 months or so to work with in terms of marketing, which sounds about right. And of course, earlier this month, the developer did mention that we might get a release date before the year ends. So another report coming from Insider Gaming claiming that we will be getting what you would assume to be the release date trailer in December. Now, it doesn't explicitly say that, it says pre-orders, but I mean, you know, I don't know if they would be willing to open pre-orders without giving a date. But yeah, it seems like if you are really looking forward to Final Fantasy XVI, you're definitely going to want to tune into the Game Awards, because I don't really know where else it would show up. I mean, of course, it could just show up somewhere randomly in December, but the Game Awards makes the most sense. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. Be sure to leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.